Knowing how to sell properly can make you thousands, if not millions. If you like money, listen up. In my last video on sales, I talked about how simply caring more about your clients than your own product will actually keep your clients hooked in and make them consider more about buying your product. But how exactly do we end a sales pitch? How do we close a sale and keep the client locked in into purchasing what you have to offer? Well, I'm here to explain that. Now, the only way you're going to close a sale successfully is if you've done all the steps beforehand correctly. So if you want to know how to do that, check the video out on the screen now, which is my first part to sales techniques. And it basically tells you what to do at the start of sales and the middle of sales. So if you've done all of those steps correctly and you've got nothing to worry about, then you're ready to move on to closing. Like we talked about in part one, 80% of the time, especially at the start of the sales pitch, you are not talking. In fact, you are listening to your clients. You can learn about their goals, digging into what their goals are, pulling onto those emotional heartstrings so they feel emotionally attached to those goals. Now that you've let them finish talking, at the end of the call, ask a simple question. I completely understand your issue. Would you like me to explain what our business can do for you to help you reach your goals? And if they've been on the call with you, or well, it could be a call face to face, doesn't matter. If they've been talking to you for this long, then they're obviously gonna say yes. It'd be a bit weird if they didn't say yes, and you probably wouldn't want them as a client anyways if they're just not gonna say yes and not gonna hear out what you have to offer anyways. So then after all of that's out the way, tell the client what your product does and relate it to the client's issues, giving them an easy input equals output equation so that if they buy by probability, obviously not 100%, nothing's 100%, right? But by probability, their goals will be reached if they purchase the product. Like I said in my last video, we never ever do this at the start, only the end, because if we do this at the start, we haven't even asked the client the question of what their goals are. So we can't relate our product with their goals, meaning if we just go on about our product, our product does this and this, and it's done this for these people and this for them, that they don't care. It's gonna bore them and they're not gonna be interested and they ain't gonna buy shit. Remember, if you watched my first part of the video, which you probably haven't, and if you haven't, you need to watch it now. You know that the client doesn't care about you or your product, only themselves and their goals. Basically, what I'm trying to say is people are selfish and we need to keep that in mind and use their selfishness to our advantage. And now that you've told your client that their goal can easily be reached by the product you sell, making sure all their questions are answered, the client will most likely be fully interested in working with you, which is obviously what we want. And now we can finally get on to talking about pricing, which once again, we never do this at the start, only the end for similar reasons. Sorry. Remember, there should be at least 2 or 3 payment options. It's another psychology trick, basically. 2 or 3 payment options like high, low, medium. And they'll choose whichever one works for them best, whether that's like financial reasons or whichever, because maybe people don't necessarily need the top, price tag. Maybe the smallest or the medium one is just good to reach their goals. And next, you just end the phone call with a friendly goodbye, maybe scheduling a follow-up call if you really think that's needed, because maybe if you don't schedule a follow-up call most of the time, you have a chance of losing your client, which is obviously what we do not want. And yeah, other than that, pretty much it. That's everything, and you're done. Now, this is obviously the best possibility and outcome that could happen when pitching and selling to someone, but unfortunately, life isn't all about sunshine and gay little rainbows. They might be cheap and not want to pay right away, or they might still have their guard up because you haven't really built much of a relationship with the person you're trying to sell to, and they might not have trust in you, which is why closing isn't even the most important bit about sales. It's what you do at the start and the middle, which, building that relationship first. And then once you've built that relationship, only if you've built that relationship, then is when you worry about closing. So in my next video, sales, I'm going to be talking about what happens if the person you're trying to sell to, your hopefully future client, is a bit more stubborn and picky. Thank you guys for watching this video as always. I hope it's helped you out. Definitely check out the video on screen now once again of my part 1 of sales, which is a way better video. Not necessarily because this video is bad, but because that video is way more of an important video if you want to learn sales and become a pro at it. right? Obviously, I'm obviously, I don't know if I classify myself as a beginner, but I guess I am because I've never actually sold anything to anyone, but I know a lot about it. You know, I know a lot about human psychology and how a human's brain works. So information wise, I'm not a beginner on it, but like experience wise, I guess I am a beginner because I've never actually sold anything to anyone before, but I know the tips and tricks and techniques and all that. So definitely watch that video now to become better at sales. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. As always, like I just said, take care and peace.